Okay friends, it's time to get started on replacing our axle. The first thing we want to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. After that, remove your center cover here, all 5 lug nuts with a 21mm socket, and then the wheel. Now that the wheel's off, let's go ahead and get this cotter pin off of here and remove this as well. Set this aside. Next, we're going to use a 30mm socket to remove our axle nut. Use a hammer and a punch. Go ahead and drive this through. Once that's broken free, we'll continue on. Now, because we're going to want a little bit of slack, let's go ahead and remove this 10mm bolt right here. And then this 12mm bolt right here. Now we can pop this off of here. Next, continue on to underneath the control arm. You're going to find 1 mounting bolt and 2 mounting nuts that hold the ball joint to the control arm. Remove all 3. I'm going to start with the bolt. Now let's just take our pry bar. We're going to carefully get in between this area here and start separating these. So now I'm just going to start pulling this away. At the same time, I'm pushing the axle through the wheel bearing so we can start removing it here. There we are. Now I'm just going to use a bungee cord for a safety strap. Just go ahead and strap that right up to the strut here. Let's put a nice collection bucket under this area. The next thing we're going to do is start removing the axle from the transmission. This is easiest from underneath the vehicle. I'm just going to gently pry. Let's see if I can work this in there. There we are. Let's unhook that safety strap now. We can start removing the axle from the car. There it is, friends. Now, while the axle's out, the next thing you want to do is pay attention to the seal. You want to ensure that it looks like it's still soft and pliable and it's not damaged in any way. After that, go ahead and wipe it down. And if it does need to be replaced, well, now's the time to do it. Now it's going to be time to insert our brand new axle. I'm going to show you the side that you want to insert. That's the one that has this clip on it right here. That's the locking clip that holds it into the transmission. Just inspect this area right here, make sure it's not damaged in any way. That's where the seal is going to be. And then we can start sliding it right in. Try lining it up. Now you're just going to want to try to give it a couple pushes, see if you can slide it in there. If you can't, you can try using a rubber mallet. Once you feel as though you have it in, just take a quick peek in there. You want to ensure that the axle looks as though it's firmly up against the transmission. It's super important that it's completely latched in. Give it a little tug, make sure it doesn't move. Let's put some copper never sees on the splines here. Now we can slide that right into our wheel bearing. Once it's started, let's continue on by lining up our ball joint with the lower control arm. Carefully press this down. Don't put your fingers in any pinch points here. Let's take some red thread locker, put it on each of these studs and our mounting bolt. Start in the mounting bolt. Bolt nuts. After that, we'll bottom these out and then we'll torque them to 60 foot-pounds. Now we can start putting this bracket back on. Pay attention to this little flip you do here. It needs to line up with that hole at the same time as your mounting bolt hole lines up as well. Just get that into position. Take our little bolt, we'll start that in, snug it up. Now we can get this on here. You've got another little flippy-do. That's going to go right underneath this area. Line up that bolt hole. Go ahead and slide the brake hose over it. Line up that hole as well. And then go ahead and put in your mounting bolt. Double check to make sure they're nice and tight. Now we can put our brand new axle nut on here. We're just going to go ahead and bottom this out, and then we'll get it down close to the ground so we can torque it. When we torque it, we're going to torque it to 217 foot-pounds. Once it's torqued, let's go ahead and put this on here. Now for this, you're going to notice that you have a whole bunch of little slots on it. You want to make sure that the slot lines up with the corresponding hole on the axle. Once it's lined up, we can go ahead and put in our cotter pin. Peen over the cotter pin, so there's no way this nut can loosen up on its own. Let's start installing our wheel. Now for this, we're just going to go ahead and start on all 5 of our lug nuts. We'll bottom this out, get it back on the ground, and then we'll torque the lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and torque these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. If you had a center cover, go ahead and put that on now. All right, so next you're going to want to make your way up into the engine compartment. We're going to find our transmission dipstick. That's located on the driver's side of the engine, right on the transmission. Let's go ahead and push this out of the way. We can lift up that dipstick. Now we're just going to go ahead and wipe it off. And then you just want to inspect it. You can see a cold level here and a hot level there. Now the next thing you want to do is make sure that you have your vehicle on a flat level surface. You're going to go ahead and start up the car, let it run, and then recheck this dipstick. If the fluid's still cold, it should be right in between these hatches right here. If you can't see anything on the dipstick at all, that means you need to add. If you need to add, just do it right down through there. Okay friends, we got the car all back together. What's left to do now? Now I would recommend triple checking that transmission fluid. You want to make sure it's up to par. After that, go ahead and climb underneath and just clean up that mess if you happen to have lost any fluid coming out of that axle seal. After that, you want to safely take it for a road test down to your local alignment shop. Thanks.